My name is Megan James, and I just want to say thank you so much for tuning in and welcome to the Megan James Show. So the purpose of our show is to provide personal development, ideas, advice, and tips, as well as business help and advice to entrepreneurs. We are so passionate about helping our local businesses, so most of our interviews are actually with local successful business owners. And when I say local, they're local to the Kernersville, Triad, North Carolina area. So we want to boost the local economy as well as provide real actionable advice for you guys, our listeners, the future and current business owners listening to this show. So without further ado, here's our show. Hey guys, so in today's podcast, I want to talk about a couple of things. I want to talk about failure, innovation, and overcoming insecurities, and in particular, innovating successfully out of failure. So I think the key to finding success through innovations and entrepreneurship is actually getting really comfortable with your failures, failing faster, learning from your failures, but most importantly, acknowledging your failures or shortcomings and accepting responsibility for them without passing judgment on yourself. This is something I struggled with for a really, really long time, and it took a lot for me to overcome it. So I feel it's an important topic for us to talk about today because so much of entrepreneurship, small business ownership, and everything just really goes back to failing, being able to accept your failures. Don't let them tear you apart or even define you. Learn from them. It's vital that you learn from your failures, and you have to be really, really comfortable with them. You know, judging yourself from your past mistakes is based in insecurity. So when you judge yourself, it causes this deeply rooted unhappiness, and it only gets worse over time. It looks something like thinking back on a time where you committed a wrongdoing, or you failed at something, or you made a mistake. For example, maybe you answered a question wrong in class. It could have been decades ago in high school or middle school or something like that, and the teacher actually corrected you in front of the class. While that's a very humbling experience, and it promotes an opportunity to learn, it's most commonly a trigger for passing judgment on ourselves. So instead of accepting your answer was just incorrect and making an effort to better learn the material or recall the correct answer that the teacher gave you, instead you chastise yourself. You scold yourself saying, "How stupid. I'm so dumb. I can't believe I said that." Inwardly, you actually believe this statement to be true. And eventually it morphs into, "I'll never pass next week's test. I can't even get this one question right." Which again morphs into, "I'll never pass this class. I'm too stupid." Whatever you believe and whatever you say to yourself regularly is true. So if you say you're smart, you're smart. If you say you're stupid, you're stupid. Whatever you say, whatever you believe is correct. So if you say you're smart and that you only missed that one question out of 10 that you actually answered, you realize you actually made a 90, so you will pass that test. You are smart enough to pass the class, and you will. Each thought is a chain reaction that leads to a future belief, which causes daily habits and actions, which ends in an outcome. So start with deciding your outcome first, and then train your thoughts and actions around that outcome that you want to achieve. Because if you line all of those up, if they're all aligned with your outcome, you'll reach your outcome. So to innovate and to bring value, we have to fail. So often we go into jobs expecting high salaries, great benefits, and good culture, but we haven't mapped out what exactly we plan to give in value. We haven't decided what we plan to add in value that other people couldn't. Whatever you decide to do it with the purpose of adding value or to solve a problem that plagued you and others originally. Commit to your solution, and your efforts will produce the result you originally desired. So if you had a problem at work where, the person who ordered your pencils or pens or whatever wasn't ordering them, and you found a supplier, and you started ordering them, you've solved the problem. This problem was plaguing you, it was probably affecting others, and suddenly you solved it. And if you continue to do things like this, and that's a small solution, right? It's a small problem, small solution, but these build up over time. So imagine solving these problems daily on small scales and just keeping track of those. Eventually, your organization is going to see that, and they're going to want to reward it. So instead of going into a job first thing saying, I want this salary, I want these benefits, I want all this, I want, and you're thinking about what you can take. Instead, go into it with a goal of what you can give. How can you fix the problem that is currently plaguing that workplace? What sets you apart from other candidates? It's critical that you think on this and decide it now. Albert Einstein once said, failure is success in progress. Not everyone knows this, but a good majority of people do. But Einstein failed 1,000 times in the process of inventing the light bulb. And when asked how he felt about failing so many times, he responded, I didn't fail 1,000 times. The light bulb was an invention with 1,000 steps. Great success is built on failure, even catastrophe. That's huge, guys. So it tells us right away that Einstein was not only able to accept his failures without passing judgment on himself, he was able to overcome those failures, learn from them, and incorporate them into something that worked, that solved a problem. That's what it takes to make your mark. That's what it takes to succeed. Everyone defines success as something different, but success is really failing a bunch of times until you learn from your mistake and you get it right. Okay, so Fran Tarkenton is one of the 50 greatest Vikings in NFL history. Phenomenal football player and phenomenal businessman. And he cites in his book, The Power of Failure, that he has only two, unforgivable failures. And I'll tell you one of them now. To learn the other one, you actually have to read the book. But one of them is not learning from your failures. Making the same mistake again and again. So Einstein tells us that he's learning from his mistakes, and he's innovating, and he's building something better. That's all we have to do, even if we're not inventors. We invent ourselves every day that we wake up and get up and fight. We're innovating our character. We're innovating how we get to work. We're innovating what we do at work. We're making lists. We can be more efficient with our time if we really focus on what goes into every minute of every hour of every day. But we have to keep failing. We have to keep trying. When we give up, when we stop trying, that's another failure that, in my opinion, is unforgivable. So now we know Einstein to be famous for his intelligence and his inventions, but he actually didn't speak until he was 4 years old. And he didn't even read until he was 7. And out of his circumstances, out of these difficult trials and tribulations at such an early age, he was able to overcome all of that and bring us some of the most important inventions that are still around today. Granted, they've been modified, they've been made better, more useful, more fitting for today's times. He began the steps to get us to where we are today. He laid the platform. He pioneered it. And that's something we have to think about. If we really want to be the change we want to see in the world, we have to pioneer things. In order to pioneer anything, you have to fail. Michael Jordan, world-renowned basketball player, once said, I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I failed over and over and over again in my life. And that is why I succeed. Was Michael Jordan likely criticized for these failures after they occurred? Of course he was. But instead of allowing others' criticisms and feelings toward him affect how Michael Jordan viewed himself, he accepted his mistakes, learned from them, and became a better ball player because of them. I had a similar circumstance. Most of you know I'm not a fan of network marketing companies for the sole reason that I think they prey on people who have entrepreneurial tendencies or entrepreneurial spirit. Maybe they've never owned a business or never ventured out, but now they're curious. They're wanting to try something for the first time in their life. They're willing to risk it and try something. And these companies prey on these people and get them all, hyped up to join, to do this thing. And they call it a business plan. They call it a real business, but it's not. It's a hype up to recruit more people, to recruit more people, to recruit more people. And that's all it is. And I got sucked into one of these things, a couple of years ago. And I learned so much from it, guys. I lost money. I lost time. I lost friends. But I also gained education. I gained friends and acquaintances and professional relationships. I learned new ways to carry myself. I found new resources. The education I wasn't getting at those events encouraged me to find places where I would. So it got me out of my shell. It got me into trying something that was way out of my comfort zone. And I failed. I failed big at it. And I could have chosen to get down on myself and say, gosh, that was so stupid. I should never have gotten involved in that. I lost money. I failed at this. But instead, I learned from it. I took every mistake I made in that business, and I put what I learned into a business plan for my next business. I took what not to do and made a to-do, if that makes sense. But out of this failure, I was criticized by close friends, by family members. You catch flack when you're trying new things, when you're trying new business plans, when you're trying anything. You're going to catch some flack, and I did. But after I failed, and I admitted this failure, I never, try to hide it. I openly talk about it on my podcast, on videos, and people I talk to, acquaintances, friends, whatever. When I actually started discussing it, I was getting criticized for trying the business plan. People were coming up to me and saying, Megan, why would you try that? Why would you even get started? That's your fault. That's you. You were being stupid. That was ignorant to even think that you can make it in that realm. That was just stupid. And I had already, admitted to myself, I'd recognized that, yes, this was, I did this. I got involved in this. So the responsibilities are mine. The weight is on my shoulders. But I don't feel guilty. I don't feel bad. I don't beat myself up. Because the difference is I learned from that mistake. And I tried again. So I didn't let these people's criticisms or doubts affect me. Because I knew they were deeply rooted in their own insecurities and their own self-doubts. And they were projecting that on me. Because they were terrified to try anything else new. Getting out of their comfort zone was horrific for them. It was like the worst thing. But what they were doing is they were imagining all the ways that they could fail and all the possible scenarios that would never come true. They would never happen. But they never found out because they never tried. And I realized this, and it takes that acceptance. It takes that understanding of where people are coming from. It's not condoning their personalities. It's not condoning what they're saying to you. But it's understanding that they're coming from a different place, and it's a really ugly place. And they're going through some hard stuff that we might not understand right now. But we can say, I appreciate it. I know what you're doing. You're trying to look out for me. And while I can appreciate that, with all due respect, I didn't ask for your opinion. I didn't ask for your advice. What's done is done. Sitting here and beating myself up over anything isn't going to change anything. I've learned from this experience on my own and privately. I've accepted what I've done wrong, and I've taken action and made plans to change it so it wouldn't happen again. I've done all I can do, and sitting here grieving over a mistake isn't fixing anything, and in fact, it's going to make my situation worse. So I've moved on. I would prefer if you did too, since my actions don't affect your life. And if they continue being, butt heads and just keeping up with this negative act, or they're calling you names, or they're yelling at you or chastising you, or they're just, for lack of a better word, they're acting like dicks, look them straight in the face and say, I hope this is making you feel good. And they're going to stop and look at you like you're the biggest jerk in the face of the earth, but just say, I hope that what you're doing right now is making you feel good. I hope this is bringing you relief. Because when you say stuff like that and people are in a whirlwind, they're in their downward spiral and they're mad at the world or they're just mad at you, they're not thinking about how this looks. They look like a toddler throwing a tantrum. And when you put it in perspective with those words, it stops it. It ends it because they're like, oh, no, this doesn't make me feel good. Why am I doing this? And it's a change. It's initiating a change, and it's at least going to curb their behavior around you. And for me, a lot of people I just had to separate myself from because they had stuff going on. I had stuff going on, and we weren't connecting on a lot. So I knew that in order to grow myself, I kind of had to distance myself away from them. And it's not anything against them. I want those people who were my friends or acquaintances for a long time. I want them to get fed. I want them to have food. Same as I want to get fed and I want to have food. I just don't want them to eat at my table. That's it. Nothing against them. I want to see them grow and learn and succeed and be successful. But I'm just not going to have them on my team. So that's all you got to do. You don't have to take everything so personally. You don't have to be so ruled by emotion. You don't have to be so high strung. And if you know me personally, you know that I can be one of the most high strung people out there, but I've taken steps and strides in the last year to really calm myself down. I've changed occupations. I was stuck in a job working for people I did not like in a location I didn't like, doing things I didn't like to do. And I had to make a critical career change. Went through a quarter-life crisis because I had sunk my identity into a job and I didn't like it, which to me felt like I was saying I didn't like myself. So I spiraled. I attached my self-esteem, my security to this job, and it screwed me. So I did a lot of education, a lot of self-education, self-development, professional seminars, therapy, did all kinds of things. And out of that, I've grown so much. I've learned to control my emotions, even growing through things like PTSD. It's very, 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 very difficult to control your thoughts and to control your emotions when you suffer from mental illnesses. Trust me, I know. Mine came from a brain injury, so it's a little different, but it's controllable. Some people need medication. Some people don't. Neither one is bad. I may not need medication, but Bob over here has a PTSD from a brain injury and he needs medication. Neither of us is right. Neither of us is wrong. To be wrong is to compare yourself to others. No one is on your level. No one is playing the same game as you. No one has the same circumstances. No one has the same wins, losses, or risks. You aren't comparable to people. So stop getting on Instagram and Facebook and comparing yourself to people and getting mad when you don't measure up. You can't measure up to Beyonce. Beyonce is fucking Beyonce. You're not Beyonce. You're not a professional singer. You're not a professional actress. You didn't grow up in that realm. You're not going to be Beyonce. Because Beyonce is Beyonce. I don't care if you're the best singer on your side of the coast or in the US or whatever. You're still not going to be Beyonce. Even if your vocals are better than hers, you're not going to be Beyonce because Beyonce is a personality. Beyonce is a person. Beyonce is an essence, right? Same as politicians are different people. You're never going to be the person that you see in those pictures. And the sooner you stop wasting time trying to be them, the sooner you're going to find yourself and the methods you need to be you. And I hope this has helped you today, guys. I hope this discussion has done some good and given you maybe some clarity that you needed, some clarity that I wish I'd had, a few years ago. I'm not mad because I eventually got that clarity, but I'm hoping that if some of you are in the same boat, you're rethinking a career change, rethinking your education, rethinking a relationship, rethinking a business plan, just stop for a second, listen to this podcast, play it over again if you have to, or read those books. Power of Failure is a great book. If you're innovating, if you're building a new business plan, The Blue Ocean Strategy is a phenomenal book. I can't recommend it enough. I'm actually reading it now, and it talks about, building your business in a niche, how you can grow out of a competitive market without actually competing against them by just building a niche inside that little realm of competition. And it takes you out of the competition and you will succeed. So it's a great book. Those two books combined are business level education that you can't receive in an MBA program. So if any of this has helped you today, or if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please let me know. I'm trying to keep it short for you guys so you can catch it on the commute to your job. But by all means, please give me feedback. If you're looking to see more